It's time for us to go out to our favorite state of New York with some updates. This is time for this week's Empire State of Crime. Okay, so remember when the whole Stop Asian Hate was a thing? You remember that? It kind of went down the memory hole along with, COVID.
It's weird.
It's weird.
They hand in hand.
I think it was daylight savings. There's I don't remember.
Set the punch forward.
Yeah. So this was something that everyone was complaining about, right? Stop Asian Hate. And we talked about, again, of course, you shouldn't commit crime against Asian Americans because of their race, just like you shouldn't commit crime against any American, well, period, and certainly not because of their race. However, the media was deliberately dishonest and misleading as to, statistically, the reality regarding the anti-Asian hate crimes, the racially motivated crimes, the increase in violence, which is, of course, seen across the board in New York, but specifically targeting Asian Americans. So I warn you, for people who are seeing this, it doesn't get too graphic, but this is an important story to cover. New York, well, this is Yonkers. There was a man who punched a 67-year-old Asian American woman 125 times. Now, look, I will never defend hitting a woman.
Right.
That being said, if you're going to lean toward that side, if I have to, I limit it at 120. I'll even allow 121. It's what I call the grace strike. But 125.
I mean, really.
125 times to hit anybody, it's like a stabbing. Like you should be in love with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you have to be like losing your mind to punch somebody.
Also, what is he? What are these criminals in New York? Are they all on EPO? How do you throw 125 strikes?
I mean, who has the time?
Yeah. For crying
Especially
out
with daylight savings.
For crying out loud, TJ Dillashaw doesn't throw 125 strikes. At least he has a minute between rounds. So this Asian woman was struck 125 times. And take a guess. Take a guess who the perpetrator was.
We're going to begin with an attack so brutal we had to freeze the video because it's too graphic to show. A 67-year-old Asian woman followed into her building in Yonkers and then beaten relentlessly. Police say a man punched and kicked her more than 130 times, and that man is now under arrest and charged with a hate crime.
We're going to go ahead and show you that video that police tell us they released to demonstrate the depravity of this crime and to let the public know that hate of any kind will not be tolerated. But you can see there the 67-year-old Asian woman is pushing a grocery cart as she enters her building in Yonkers. She stops to open the second door of the building vestibule when a man comes in behind her and for absolutely no reason
it's a damn white
punches her,
supremacist.
launching her to the ground.
For a second,
now,
I thought it was Kyle
we
Rittenhouse.
froze the video at that point because what happens after that is hard for even law enforcement to watch. That man proceeds to pummel the 67-year-old woman over and over and over again. As you mentioned, more than 125 times. He kicks her, he spits on her before leaving her there on the ground.
Well, it's hard for law enforcement to watch, but I guess it's not too hard for your political representatives to watch in New York, right? Because the policies that have led to this? Or did you forget about those? Did you forget about catch and release? Did you forget about no cash bail? Did you forget about that? So let's go through some stats really quickly.
Yeah, de Blasio should have to watch this like a Clockwork Orange with his eyelids just ripped open, because it is his fault.
Yeah, he should be gorilla glued to a kaleidoscope of just these crimes so that he realizes the kinds of... You don't get a mulligan on defund the police. You don't get a mulligan on being soft on crime, leftists. This is the direct result of that. And statistically, that's the anecdotal that you just saw, and it should upset you. You should have a visceral reaction. You absolutely should. But you can't only go by anecdotal, because that's how people are misled. That's how people are led down the primrose path. So New York City alone, anti-Asian crime has increased by 361%. Or it did just in 2021. Now, in 2018, there were some studies conducted. And keep in mind, these are hard to find because the DOJ stopped actually reporting the race of the perpetrator in a lot of these crimes. I can't remember if it was the DOJ or the FBI, but we used to be able to have these statistics, and then they just all of a sudden stopped. So this is done by third party here. 1 in 4 crimes against Asians were committed by a black perpetrator, more than any other race. Keep in mind that it's disproportional when you understand that they make up 12% of the population.
Yes, and I believe the word is teens.
Yes.
Yes, because that's honestly what they would use in New York. There's like 8 wanted teens, and you're like, in their 40s?
Yes.
Okay.
Teens descending from Yonkers?
Right, weird.
So this is, again, we can get into how does this happen? In the Bay Area, I think it was over 80% of all violent crimes were actually blacks against Asians. Now, this isn't to say, of course, that all black people commit crimes against Asians. However, if you want to defund the police, police your own. There need to be organizations. There need to be protests specifically from the black community saying, hey, let's stop this violence. Let's stop this hate. If you're going to try and paint it as white supremacy, which is what they tried to do, this White House, guess what? You don't get to the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, I haven't seen any news reports saying that there's a problem like what we've just described, where black men or black teens, as you put it, Dave, are attacking Asians. And look, I
teen men actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, they're just acting like teenagers, even though they're supposed to be grown men at this time. I don't care what race is doing it, but you told us it was white supremacists. You told us it was a white person problem, and that Donald Trump in the White House has led to more Asian hate than ever because of the Wuhan virus, as he said it, right? The virus that came from Wuhan, right? That's what you told us, and this is what we have. Show me the video of this happening en masse from white guys, and I am on your side.
And you know what else this does? This gives ammo to our enemy propaganda. So, for example, in Russia, they talk about, they want to vilify white people for everything. This is them trying to do an ethnic cleansing, right? This is the kind of rhetoric you hear from them. And if you go before these international governing bodies and say, Black Lives Matter, it makes it really easy for people who, as despicable as they may be, it makes it really easy for them to highlight the truth and go, look, they're not even acknowledging the problems in their own community. Look, they tell us to fix our community. They don't acknowledge the 360% increase in crime, and they blame on white people. Do you want this coming to your country? Fight the West. This is the problem with not being truthful. It's the only thing that matters when you are trying to troubleshoot a problem and fix it. Couple of quick stats. Bail reform coincided with a 40% increase in violent crime over the past year.
That's a shock. And they're going to let this guy right out.
Right.
That's the amazing part.
Yeah.
It's a revolving door. I mean, you don't. So what's bail? Oh, it's 0. Great. See ya.
Right. Well, the silver lining is he may be held longer because he wasn't wearing a mask.
Oh, that's
thank God.
Yeah. He might.
I just hope he was vaccine hesitant. Ooh, we could lock him up for 3 hours.
Yeah. Maybe 5 years.
Yeah. That almost would be appropriate, wouldn't it?
You'd assume 20, but yeah.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget that the New York may issue laws, which basically mean that you can't carry a firearm in New York. You have to have it signed off by effectively a sheriff. It's one of those things that's an impossible process, which should not exist, or that barrier should not exist, because it is your fundamental right. Hey, why is it your fundamental right to carry a firearm? Because of that. You can teach that woman martial arts all she wants. Guess what? She doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
If you want to save women, the only chance they have is a mechanical advantage. The Great Equalizer, that's why it's referred to as that. That woman is stronger than that man. Let's not act like the left cares about women, and so bad than not allowing all of its citizens to carry firearms. So what ends up happening? This video, I believe, just came out today in New York City. Lines around the block from Asian Americans buying pepper spray.
This is, again, a sign of how concerned the community is. It's all mainly women in line and elders and some elders. And because, pepper spray is not legal to buy here in New York as well. So, again, please stop Asian hate.
Yes, so the rapid rise in crime across the board with a significant increase against Asians in New York City. Cash bail reform, when you look at, bail reform when you look at cash bail, when you look at the statistics regarding black against Asian crime, I think this may all just be a ploy. Back to their old tricks. It's big pepper spray, folks. This has been Empire State of Crime. Big pepper spray, always up to their old tricks.
They win every time.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.